You also answered in the affirmative to Mike Donelon. When did you most recently speak to Mr. Donelon?
It would have been the first quarter of the year, I believe.
And what did you discuss?
He had called me regarding news about a book by Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson.
And what did you discuss about the book?
He asked for my assessment of the best way to handle media coverage of the book.
Did you ever speak with Mr. Donelon about President Biden's age or mental acuity while in the White House?
Yes.
And what were those discussions?
Mike Donelon worked with the president closely, and he would attest to the president's high performance.
Were these also frequent meetings between you and Mr. Donelon?
Less frequent than with Anita Dunn. And I would also talk with him about a very wide range of subjects.
You also answered in the affirmative to Steve Ricchetti. When was the most recent time you spoke with Mr. Ricchetti?
It was earlier this year. I don't remember exactly when. Maybe 2 months ago.
And what did you discuss?
I don't remember what we last discussed. Our last interaction was a phone call.
I can't remember if it was anything relating to President Biden's age, mental acuity, general health.
I don't believe that it was.
Have you ever spoken with Mr. Ricchetti about President Biden's age,
Yes.
health? Tell us about those conversations.
Very similar to the kinds of conversations I would have with Mike Donelon.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so we're still on Andrew Bates, and I'm loving this right now. Like, oh my goodness, really? What kind of conversations did you have with Mike Donelon? See, that would be an okay answer if it wasn't so freaking nebulous. If we could actually understand, instead of this guy obfuscating everything that's going on, and maybe you could give us some details. How about something here, right? Oh, he come in to talk about the high performance of Joe Biden. Are you kidding me? Like, this dude just doesn't lie very well, or he just doesn't care that we know he's lying. Like, just blatantly lying. Like, I just still don't understand why these investigators aren't pushing back much harder, right? Like, when you give us some nebulous answer, like, well, it's the same kind of conversations I had with this guy. See, that would be an okay answer if he actually went into detail about the conversations he had with Mike Donelon. But he didn't go into detail about the conversations that he had with Mike Donelon, for crying out loud. It's completely absurd. But I'm rambling. This is supposed to be the intro. You guys smash that like button for me. Subscribe. If you're new around here, I'd love to have you on board. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. Click that join button. Check out my regular videos. Sign up and become a member. We go over news and politics. And I know that was kind of mixed-matched around, but why the hell not? I mean, why should we stay to some sort of standard here, right? I mean, we don't have much standards. Here we go.
They would also involve the president's legislative agenda, because Steve did a lot of work with the Hill.
And how frequently did you communicate with Mr. Ricchetti about the president's health, mental acuity, and age?
Every so often. Most of our conversations were about legislative issues.
And just so I'm clear, and you might have said this, when you say that the conversations regarding President Biden's health or age were similar to those with Mr. Donelon, I believe you said that you had spoken with Mr. Donelon about Mr. Tapper and Mr. Thompson's book. So I'd like to just ask the question: Have you had other conversations with Mr. Donelon about President Biden's health, age, or ability to do the job?
Yes, of the sort that we were talking about a moment ago, that Mr. Donilon worked closely with President Biden, and he would often talk about how well the president was performing, would give anecdotes.
And with these conversations with either Mr. Donilon or Mr. Ricchetti, were you asking questions of them, or were you just filling them in on what the media was saying?
It was prompted by media inquiries or related media needs. So I would inform them about a reporter's interest, and we would discuss the nature of the inquiry.
And I appreciate that. And when you say that you would discuss it, would you ask questions? Steve, is the president able to do his job? Is the president, going to sleep earlier? Anything along those? Did you ask questions to either Mr. Ricchetti or Mr. Donilon?
I would ask questions that mainly relayed what reporters were asking me to get their input.
Do you remember any of the questions that you asked? I'm not verbatim, but can you give us an idea of the nature that reporters were asking you that you would then relay to either Mr. Ricchetti or Mr. Donilon?
The questions could have to do with political strategy, about how to respond to attacks on the president that had to do with age, or if a reporter brought a particular claim about an alleged meeting or other kind of work event, I would go to them if they had knowledge of said event.
But specifically about the president's age, health, or ability to do the job, did you ever ask questions about the underlying concern, or were you mostly asking questions about how to respond in a political sense or pushback?
It was mainly questions that surrounded what the reporter was asking me, and then what they felt would be the best way to respond.
You also answered in the affirmative to Neera Tanden. When was the most recent time you spoke to Ms. Tanden?
The most recent time I spoke to her would have been within recent weeks.
And what did you discuss?
We talked about congressional redistricting.
And did you have conversations with Ms. Tanden about President Biden's age, mental acuity, his overall health?
Yes.
And what were the substance of those conversations?
She told me, also in the context of dealing with reporter questions, about her experience speaking about policy with President Biden.
And her experience of policy with President Biden, meaning working on a policy agenda or shaping certain legislative actions, that kind of thing?
Yes.
And did you have more direct conversations about the president's health, his age, his mental acuity?
Similar to what we've discussed with Mr. Donilon, Mr. Ricchetti, it had to do with me communicating things said by reporters and then talking with her about elements of her experience that would be relevant to demonstrating the president's work ethic and abilities.
And just so I'm clear, are we talking about the time frame post-presidency or during President Biden's presidency?
During.
Thank you.
And how frequently would you speak with Ms. Tanden about these topics?
Intermittently, not very often.
Less so than Mr. Donilon or Mr. Ricchetti or Ms. Dunn?
Yes, because those individuals had wider portfolios.
And when you were speaking with Ms. Tanden about these topics, was it over the course of her entire stint at the White House? I know she held several positions. So I'm wondering, in what context you were having those conversations, if it was when she was staff secretary or when she was head of the DPC.
I only remember this occurring when she was the head of the DPC.
You also answered in the affirmative to Kate Bedingfield. When was the most recent time you spoke with Miss Bedingfield?
I don't remember the most recent time that we spoke, but it would have been pretty recent. She is a friend.
And did you discuss President Biden's mental acuity, age, overall health with Miss Bedingfield?
When she was in the White House,
And what were the nature of those conversations?
it would have paralleled conversations with Anita Dunn and some of the others that we've mentioned, where I was briefing her about media narratives, reporter questions, and we would confer about the best kinds of ways to respond.
Did she ever mention any concerns to you about President Biden's health, mental acuity, or age?
No.
And I think you said this, but these would have also been frequently, as with Ms. Dunn or Mr. Donilon or Mr. Ricchetti, these conversations.
Yes.
You also answered in the affirmative to Jen Psaki. When was the most recent time you spoke with Ms. Psaki?
Within the last 2 months.
And excuse me. What did you discuss with Ms. Psaki within the past couple months?
I believe the last time we spoke, it was about Texas redistricting.
And during Ms. Psaki's tenure in the White House, did you discuss President Biden's age, mental acuity, and overall health with Ms. Psaki?
Yes.
And what were the nature of those conversations?
Very similar to the conversations with Kate Bedingfield.
Similar to Kate Bedingfield, these happen rather frequently.
Well, Jen was my boss, and so I would speak with her very often about all kinds of subjects. And as we've been talking about with other individuals, I would explain questions I was getting from reporters, stories that we expected, and so we would collaborate about those.
And did Ms. Psaki ever share concerns with you about President Biden's age, general health, mental acuity?
No.
You also answered in the affirmative to Karine Jean-Pierre. When was the most recent conversation with Ms. Jean-Pierre?
The most recent conversation would have been when the letters asking us to speak here became public.
And what did you discuss about the committee's letters to you all?
She called me and asked if I had seen this, and I said I had. And I said that I thought it would be prudent for us not to talk about it more.
You know, I just don't believe this guy, not in the least. When KJP calls you up, say, hey, have you seen these subpoenas from the House GOP, the Oversight Committee? They want to take us in for depositions and ask us questions. And he's like, well, I think it would be prudent for us not to speak on this any further. Like, right, my dude. Like, seriously, nobody believes you that you didn't speak upon this any further. And did you notice the obfuscation train that was going down every time they would bring up a different person that he answered in the affirmative that he had discussions about Joe Biden's mental capabilities or age or anything like that? It would be the last person. Oh, well, similar to Mike Donilon, and then similar to this person, and then similar to this person, and similar to this person. Well, hang on. How about let's get into some details here, my dude? Like, seriously, you guys had to discuss Joe Biden's mental capabilities, right? Like, seriously, if you're talking about questions that you are getting from the press, then that means those topics are going to come up. right? Joe Biden's mental capabilities are going to come up because press was asking all kind of questions. Like, did the president get lost on stage? Did he really believe that he was shaking hands with ghosts? So you mean you would receive those questions and then go to somebody else to get deference or whatever it may be from these people, you know, give me some advice, please. They asked if Joe Biden speaks to or shakes hands with ghosts. What do I say about this? And the topic of Joe Biden's mental capacity never came up, not once. Not once. You never questioned Joe Biden's high performance or high levels of performance. Oh, yo, like seriously, like how believable is that? Having some staffers come in and, hey, let's talk about Joe Biden's high level of performance. What? Do you ever talk about anybody's high level of performance when they're 80 freaking years old and are clearly going senile? Like, I'm sorry, look, dude, my dude, you could at least trot a lot better, right? But this dude's not trying at all. He's just blatantly lying and doesn't seem to give a damn about this. Man, I would really wish they could pin this guy to the freaking wall and just throw him in jail. 6 months, that's all I ask for, 6-8 months. That'd be nice. You know, KJP, the same thing. I would love to see him bring in Jen Psaki, but I haven't seen that come up yet, so I don't know if that's ever going to come up. But it's so fascinating. I love the part, and I really wish they would have expounded upon this a little bit when they started talking about Jake Tappers and Alex, oh, God dang it, I can't remember his last name. Oh, Alex something with Axios or whatever. Oh, yeah, God dang, I'm sorry, y'all. I can't remember his freaking name, but basically talking about the book that they came out with. Okay, so hang on. Let's backtrack, my dude. That's what I would have done. Let's backtrack. Hang on. So they had this book come out, and do you know, have you read the book, by the way? Do you know that, they really kind of ramrodded Joe Biden in that book, right? Right, and they talked to you to get some of that information. So, hang on, let's address this here subject right fast. Like, seriously, I would have asked, what exactly did you discuss with these people? You know, we don't need specifics. Just give me some generalities here. I just, you know, we don't need to get into the granular, whatever that may be. Some generalities. That's all we need. What did you discuss with these people about this so-called book? Or whatever, like, you know, because the book was pretty bad, if you will. Like, okay, so they did kind of go into, oh, Joe Biden did all this and his legislative accomplishments and all that nonsense. Like, once again, folks, I'm sorry, you know, as an aside, I can't stand that argument when, you know, they're trying to make an argument for a president like they do with Joe Biden a lot. Well, he's got so many legislative accomplishments and blah, 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 blah. Well, hang on just a second. Look, I understand that a lot of presidents, they've all been senators for the most part, or at least in recent years, they've been mostly senators, and senators legislate. But that's not the president's job. The president is an executive. He's essentially the CEO of America, and they are supposed to run the country. They are not supposed to legislate from the White House. That's not their job. They are not meant to be legislators, for crying out loud. So I could care less about Joe Biden's high performance level in legislation. I don't care. He might have an agenda. Sure, he may get some staffers to work with Congress, but that should be the extent of it. That accomplishment would not benefit Joe Biden, essentially, is what I'm getting at here. That would be Congress writing up that legislation, not Joe Biden. So I don't know why they try to use legislative accomplishments. You know, and I'm sorry for that aside. I just can't stand that argument when they try to say, well, look, Donald Trump never legislated anything. Well, he's not a legislator. He's a freaking businessman. And he runs the country like a freaking boss. That's all I'm going to say. You know, like him or hate him, regardless, he runs the country pretty damn well. You might not like how he runs the country, but he does a good job. At least in what he does. You got to give him that. You may not like what he does, but whatever he does, generally he does it well. So we'll say that. But let's get back to Joe Biden here. You know, none of this makes any sense, y'all. Like, all these questions, the fact that they're not pushing back kind of disappoints the hell out of me. I'm kind of saddened by these events. At the very least, I'm saddened. You know, at the most, I'm like, what a bunch of scumbags for not pressing these people harder. You know what I mean? It's like, why are they not trying to at least expose the fact to the camera that, hey, we know you're lying, buddy. You're not telling the truth. You're not even good at it. You're not even coming close. It doesn't even look like you're trying to hide your lies here. I like looking down and then being like, no. Well, you know, it's pertaining to the same discussions I had with such and such. It's like, what? Like, expound upon that, please. Please. Something. I'd love to hear more. Please keep going. But nothing. Nothing, not in the least. But I think that's all I got on this one, y'all. Y'all let me know if y'all want me to keep going with this dude or switch to somebody else or go back to Anita Dunn or whatever it may be. I think this dude's kind of interesting. I love the roboticism. Yeah, that's a pretty good word there. It's hard to say when you're trying to talk to a camera right off the cuff. You know what I'm saying? Off the top of your head. None of this is scripted, by the way. It's all just, I hit the record button and I'll just start rambling. And that's pretty much it. You know, I'll watch the video, of course. I'll watch the video first and then I just do my thing. And you know, all the topics I bring up basically off, who cares about that, right? You don't need to know any behind the scenes unless you want to know the behind the scenes, and then I'll make a video about behind the scenes. Y'all let me know down in the comment section, but otherwise, you guys smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. Click that join button. Sign up and become a member, because I have to be a little bit robotic with whatever I say. But y'all do all that for me. And you guys remember that God has a plan for all of us, right? God loves each and every one of you out there. He has a plan for us. It's tailor-made just for you. So, you guys try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.